Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone's doing well today. I want to give you an update today to you future homeowners, buyers and sellers alike on what's happening to the already insane housing market. In our current environment, as you probably might know, housing prices have been skyrocketing due to the historically low supply and extremely low interest rates. In addition, there's also a great migration going on right now to new growing cities. And then you have the largest generation in American history right now looking for a starter home. So now in this crazy market, we now have a new 10-ton gorilla competitor introduced to the housing jungle for the same homes that you guys want to buy. BlackRock, the biggest hedge fund manager in the world with $8 trillion under management, is now unfortunately your new competitor. You're probably thinking, what other huge obstacle can be placed in front of me as a home buyer when I've gotten outbid already numerous times? Everyone got light of this news a few days ago from a Wall Street Journal report titled, "If you sell your house today, it might be to a pension fund." Those closer to the source mentioned that there was a huge uproar from the left, right, center, and everyone in between regarding the BlackRock news. In an already insane housing market where home buyers are having the hardest time, they now have to contend with a 10-ton gorilla snapping up homes at an enormous rate. In a viral Twitter thread, BlackRock is supposedly paying 20 to 50% above asking price for any decent home that they can find, outbidding normal buyers. Per John Burns, who wrote the amazing book Big Shifts Ahead on where the future growth cities will be, he states that you now have permanent capital competing with a young couple trying to buy a house. That's going to make U.S. housing permanently more expensive. That in many of the nation's top markets, roughly 1 in every 5 households sold is bought by someone who never moves in. You can see here in some of these states where these institutional investors are buying their homes in. Also, related to this topic, please check out my other videos if you're curious on the top secrets to the best housing markets. And then there are 2 markets that I cover that I think will explode in growth in the future. But getting back to the issue, I understand why so many people right now are hating on BlackRock. We currently have a consistent theme in our collective consciousness that the rich always seem to be getting richer, while most people out there seem to be left in the cold. Housing, which is most people's dream of elevating in this world, seems to be getting more out of reach. Raoul Pal of Real Vision has mentioned before that if you compare the 32-year-old boomer versus today's 32-year-old millennial, the 32-year-old boomer back then could buy 60% more house versus today's millennial. I'm not sure how he comes to those metrics, but it does feel right. Because of our budgets, we're being pressed into buying smaller homes and sometimes in less than ideal areas. I'm no fan of BlackRock, but I believe that the hate is being misplaced, which I'll unpack in a moment. There's a bigger villain out there, more than BlackRock, that is creating this big wealth divide. But in the meantime, if you guys are getting some value out of this, do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe button to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. In a recap, the main reason why BlackRock has entered the housing market is because they're chasing yield for their money. They are entering the housing market because they believe that they can get a good return on their money. Given the housing shortage and the low interest rates that we are currently experiencing, I believe that their bet will pay off. House prices will likely go up further to the pain of many. Currently, we just don't have enough of a supply of starter homes being built to satisfy the demand. We see a continued downtrend of the amount of starter homes being built to satisfy the need in the US. As you can see here, this is years in the making. The article speculates that we are entering into a new speculative housing bubble. And given this bull market started around 2012, it certainly feels like we are. But getting back to the uproar on BlackRock buying homes, I believe that the bigger villain is not BlackRock, but it is our easy money printing and government policy and interest rates. If you're going to get outraged at anyone, direct that energy to our current government policymakers, where they're printing obscene amounts of money and manipulating the interest rates to their lowest levels ever. BlackRock, despite being a 10-ton gorilla in the room, is just another market participant doing a rational thing by chasing a return for their investors. We live in an economically surreal landscape right now. A good friend of mine said to me the other day that a lot of people who are trying to make ends meet today have that awkward feeling, but they just can't really put their finger on it. They have an idea that something is just not right. The economic divide between the rich and the poor is getting more extreme, despite the fact that many people are working harder and harder to make ends meet. What I want to emphasize is that our government policy and our obscene money printing is the direct culprit of these extreme housing prices and the divide between the rich and the poor. You don't have to look further than Stanley Druckenmiller, one of the greatest investors in the world, recently commenting on our government policies. He says that, "I don't think there has been a greater engine of inequality than the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States in the last 11 years. So hearing the chairman talking about visiting homeless shelters is very rich indeed." He goes on to say, "The people that benefit from money printing are rich people who know how to navigate the market. I just had the best year I've had in 15 years last year. Everyone wealthy I know is making a fortune. And why are we making it? Because this guy is printing money like there's no tomorrow. The kids in Harlem, in my opinion, are not benefiting from the money printing, but Stanley Druckenmiller and other wealthy people are." I've said this before, that 50% of America do not invest at all. So they are missing out on all these gains that Druckenmiller is mentioning. Just to recap, our national debt is $28 trillion and growing. We just printed $2.2 trillion to survive the pandemic. And recently, mostly everyone got another stimulus check from the additional $1.9 trillion we printed. The stock market soaring to new heights and the housing market launching into the stratosphere is a direct result of the cheap money chasing hard assets and looking for a return. There's a direct correlation between increasing the money supply and the rise of inflation in all things. With real estate, you have more money in the system chasing a set amount of scarce assets. And when you couple that with manipulated low interest rates, hard assets like real estate go even higher. The debasement of our money supply has increased by 25%, which is unprecedented. Now, is it no wonder why stock and housing prices are going through the roof? If you look back, all that money we printed first showed up in the stock market and in the housing market, inflating both of them. Now it's making its way to everyday goods. Look no further than the mention of Chipotle recently raising their prices, or that Warren Buffett sees inflation in the companies that he operates. We have our very own Fed, the institution that manages our economy, surprised that we saw a 4.2% inflation tick up recently, and now we see May numbers at 5%. I'm thinking to myself, what do you expect when we print trillions of dollars, diluting our money system, and now you guys are surprised that inflation is rising? A very well-respected economist said once, there is a reason why our economic leaders are getting it wrong all the time in their predictions. You don't have to look further than Ben Bernanke's prediction on our housing bubble a few years back. He said that it's not that they're stupid, but their predictions are always off because they're using the wrong economic models to reach their conclusion. I don't know about you, but I'm beginning to feel that's more correct than not. I know people are hating on BlackRock, especially new aspiring homeowners. However, they are just another market actor trying to buy hard assets in a time of inflation and extreme money printing. If you want to direct your outrage at something, direct it to our government policymakers. Debasing our currency to the tune of trillions, we are robbing Americans of their purchasing power. And hence, it takes more dollars to purchase that home you want. The root of the problem extends beyond BlackRock. As I said, I'm not a fan of BlackRock purchasing all these homes and cutting out the first-time home buyer. But the root of the problem goes beyond BlackRock in an already overly crowded housing market. Anyways, I hope I gave you some thoughts to chew on. And everyone out there, I wish you the best of luck on your housing journey. I hope all of you out there achieve your American dream despite the current challenges. If you like this video, please check out my other videos on personal finance, where I talk about inflation and what that really is, and also the top secrets to the best real estate markets in the country. I also, again, emphasize 2 hot markets where I think it's going to explode in growth in the future. Good luck, and I'll see you on the next one.